I was working in the booklet, and there was an example similar to this, and in section 2 of chapter 8, example 5, I kind of went over it little by little. Well, not little by little, but I went over it a little, and I want to spend a little more time going over it because we need something like this to figure out the strategy of how to do this. And that is using a Venn diagram to unravel all this data we have. So this doctor had 100 patients. They all thought they had the flu. 74 fever, 72 chills, 67 headache, 55 both fever and chills, 47 both fever and headache, 49 chills and headache, 35 had all three symptoms, and 3, while they thought they had the flu, didn't have any of these. And we want to figure out how do we fill in our Venn diagram. Well, as we mentioned, generally speaking, you start from the center where all of these intersect. And let's just set it up a little bit more. So what we know, just to kind of get us in the ballpark, this is the fevers, and we had 74 of them altogether. We had 72 with chills and 67 with headaches. Now we then go down to the bottom because we want to get something in the middle here. And I'll use red for that. So we know for sure that 35 had all three. And then they suggest a strategy. If 35 had all three, how many had fevers and chills? So we go to fevers and chills and we get 55 there. Just put that in there lightly. And some of them we know had all three. So how do we figure out those that of the 35 that had all three, just of the 55 had the 2? Well, we do the subtraction of this. And if we take 35 from 55, we now have a 20. So these two add up to the 55 that we said there. So I can erase now the 55. Now let's go over here to those that had fever and headache. Fever and headache we know was 47. But 35 also had fever and headache. So we have to subtract the 35 from the 47, and that's going to give us 12. And now I can erase the 47. So if I add these two together, I get 47. Now, how many had chills and headache? Chills and headache. Well, we had 49. So I will put there in blue as our working number 49. But we knew 35 of them also had those. So we have to subtract 35 from the 49, and that's going to give us, in red now, 14. So we have a lot of the data, and what are we missing? Well, of all our data, how many only had a fever? We don't have that yet. So what we need to do is add up the 20, the 35, and the 12, and that comes to 67. So I'll put that in blue here that I'm going to subtract from my 74. Adding these up, that gives me the 67. So that leaves me now in red with 7. And I'll erase this. And now we want to see how many just had chills here. So we're going to add these up now, 35, 20, and 14, and I get a 69 that I will subtract from 72. Adding these up, subtract it from 72, and in red, that will give me 3. And I can erase this now. And I just need to know this. So I'm going to add the 12, the 35, and the 14, and get 61. That I'll subtract here and get 6. So what I've done then is develop from our data using a Venn diagram, starting in the center, working out, plugging in my data, and doing calculations. And I have a few questions to ask, but I'm going to erase this part here first, because I want to know, and I have to add one more figure out here, that there were 3 that had no symptoms. But remember, our universe was equal to 100. Now, if I didn't know that, and I wanted to figure out how many individuals I had from all of this, how would I go about doing it? Well, I would have to add, and I'll show you how we did this, and let's use black for this. All of what's in here, let's say, we know that is 74. I'll put it out here. So all of this is 74. Now I have to add 3 and 14, which is 17. These two. And then I have to add a 6, and then later the 3 that's out here, and get 9. And see now how much all of that adds up to. And it all adds up to 100. So it took me about 10 minutes to do this. So you see, it takes a while, and that's why I put it as sort of a supplement here. Starting with all 3, and then starting to bring in my data, and then calculating to fill in the various spots. And then once again, how do we get our total population? You can take all of this, which we know is 74. Then the numbers we haven't counted yet were the 3, the 14, the 9, and this 3. Okay, we'll wrap this up.